Hey guys, still here and welcome back to Stormworks. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to take an advanced boat, and this is a very basic advanced boat, pardon the contradiction, and make it go in reverse, because currently it's not doing that. And that's a bit, well, clumsy for a boat. So I'm going to take this one back to the workshop. Normally I'd say you need to pump out the fuel. But since this is just a bunch of tutorial videos, I don't really care if I burn some fuel. So, we're going to return to the workbench. I'm going to turn off the world viewer for now. And we're going to do some surgery on this boat. I'm going to cut open the stern, or at least the deck, so that we can access this part right here. Now, what we're going to add is an ability to make your boat go in reverse. For that, you're going to need a gearbox. Now, a gearbox is, or can be, a little confusing. If I put it down, you can see that it has two ports. It has a connection port A and a connection port B down there. This is critical, which goes where. What a gearbox does, and if you use the select you can adjust it, it has two ratios. It has 1:1 or 1:. Something else. And again, you can adjust these as you see fit. What I want the gearbox to do right now is to have two ratios. One ratio is going to be 1:1, which means that one rotation from my engine means one rotation of my prop. The other set, or the other ratio, is going to be 1 to -1. So one rotation from my engine is going to translate into a negative turn of my prop, aka your prop moves backwards. So we're going to add this, and for that I'm going to need to make a little bit of room. The gearbox goes in here. Unfortunately, you might sometimes need to do a little bit of adjusting, as this thing takes a low input and outputs it high. So I'm going to have to redo the piping. And I'm going to do it like this. Nope, not like that. Like that, and like that. Now set up the ratios. This 1:1 is fine for now. We're going to go into an advanced gearbox tutorial later on. The other one is going to be -1. So if I switch it on, if I use a toggle button to turn this gearbox on, it's going to go, okay, I now need to go to ratio 2. Otherwise, it's going to go on ratio 1:1. So 1 revolution from your engine is 1 revolution from your prop. That's all. We can close the deck back up. And we need to set up a toggle button. Now, toggle buttons work slightly different from push buttons. Push buttons normally output a none, so a 0, unless you push them, in which case they output a 1. And that's the one that we used for starting the engine. You send a brief signal starting up the engine, and then you can just release the push button. The gearbox, I need to have a toggle button, because I need to toggle it from ratio 1 to ratio 2. That's the thing we just set up. So I'm going to rename it first. This is going to be my reverse button. And I'm going to connect this one, if it is toggled, to connect to the gearbox. So now the gearbox, if this button is pushed, switches gear from ratio 1 to ratio 2. Don't forget, power. If this gearbox doesn't get any power, it won't do anything. So I'm going to add the power from the electric engine to the gearbox. Why? Well, the gearbox won't do me much good if the power, or if the engine isn't running. So I don't really need that. Also, don't forget, send power to your button. This is one of the items that I overlook the most, and then you spawn in your creation and you think, why is it not working? Well, you haven't hooked up your button to the power, so that's what we're going to do. This is all that you need to reverse your boat. I'm going to spawn it in. Now, in the previous video, I dropped my connector sort of into the water. It's a little inconvenient, because as I don't have any ladders on board yet, I might not be able to get into my boat, but we're going to try. See if I can leap out of the water high enough. I don't believe so. Nope, not quite. Okay, so we're going to fix that before we do anything else. Take it to the workbench. And I want 2 ladders set up on each side. So for that I'm going to use the mirror mode. I'm going to cut out a 3x3 or say a 3x4 block. I'm going to look for a ladder. I'm going to place a ladder back to make sure that if I or anybody else falls out of this boat, I can actually get back in. So you go like this. Now you have a ladder. Spawn it back in. Connectors like these, by the way, can be a bit of a headache. Sometimes they are just really, really finicky. Get up the ladder. Now, good news, the connector's in the boat. Bad news, it threw me back out of the boat. That's what I mean by finicky. Pick up the connector, hook it up to the connector for my fuel port. Watch the fuel go into the boat. And we don't actually need a full tank for this, just enough to be able to move around. Toss the connector overboard. And now we can start up the engine. So a little bit of throttle. Start the engine. And we're moving. Perfect. What if I want to move in reverse? Because let's say, oh shit, I forgot a passenger over there. I need to get back. There's 2 ways to go about this. You can either just set the lever for the throttle back to none. Or you can immediately hit the reverse button. And now you can see that my engine RPM is negative. Unfortunately, that did kill the engine. Because you cannot, without a clutch, immediately reverse your engine. So this method does not work. Reverse throttle, or lower the throttle, turn on the reverse, put the throttle in, let's say 0.35, start the engine. And now we're moving in reverse. Now, of course, you don't want to have too much reverse throttle, or you're going to be crashing into stuff. Now, to make matters worse, it's dark. And yeah, I think that's enough. Throttle off. And we're back in the dock. So, reiterate. Make sure you have a gearbox. Make sure the gearbox takes this direction. It goes from here to there. That's the way that the arrows need to point. It's important to have it like this because this says something about where the inputs and the outputs are. This over here, the little arrow on the bottom left, is the A input. This is the B output. This is the A, that's the B. If I were to select it like, let's say this, now it's going to provide 1 rotation from the engine into 2 rotations for the prop, meaning that the boat will be faster. I'm going to go into a different video or into this particular topic in a different video, but make sure that initially you just have it set to 1, 1. So 1 RPM from the engine is 1 revolution for your prop, and 1 and -1. That's the reverse. And that's all that you need to do. Now your boat can go in reverse. Again, this video is a part of a tutorial series on how to build your first boat in Advanced in Career. So if you have any particular questions on this, let me know down below in the comments. If you want to see more tutorial videos, then look in the description down below where you can find the playlist of all my tutorials. And as I'm going to continue to grow this playlist, there's a good chance that I already have your particular objective explained and show you a way to be able to do that. Again, if it's not listed there yet, have any questions, let me know down below in the comments and I'll be happy to help you. Thank you for watching. I hope it was helpful and good luck building your own boats.